Noelle Silva versus Yuno. I already know that this one is going to be a doozy in the comments section. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another versus battle, the third one of my mainline community-driven versus battle series, where you guys vote who fights in the battle and provide reasons why in the comments of the poll. This video is a 1 versus 1 battlefield scenario where Noelle and Yuno, at their current manga versions, fight each other. This means no elf form for Yuno, since there really isn't any evidence to prove he would have kept all of his power. But I'll give my thoughts on max power elf spirit dive Yuno at some point in the battle, or some point in this video. But yeah, Valkyrie dress Noelle versus spirit dive Yuno. Who will win? I already know that there's going to be some heated fans in the comments, and a lot of surprised comments too. Noelle is one of the most downplayed characters in Black Clover, so people are totally expecting Yuno to completely smack her. That is not happening. At the very least, this will be a close battle. Noelle, through feats alone, has shown more than enough to be able to hold her own against Yuno, and that will be proved in this video. Now, of course, there will be manga spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then you might want to click away. With that being said, I'll go over the poll results and the comments that you guys left in that poll. So with almost 2,000 votes, over 82% of you voted that Yuno would win this battle. That isn't surprising at all. I expected for that to be the outcome of the poll. So I'm just, I used to just read comments from each side. I'm just going to go through and pick random comments and see what people say. This one is from Quincy Murray. I actually think this is pretty close and it would be fun as hell to watch. Both of their spells include them dancing around the battlefield. The lance versus sword aspect would also be pretty cool. Noelle definitely has the power department because of Sea Dragon Roar, because the only person we've seen attempt to stop it got half of his body blown off. My problem is Yuno's speed advantage and versatility would easily overwhelm Noelle. It would be fun to watch her dodge Spirit Storm after Spirit Storm from every direction, but she can't keep dodging those forever. Plus, Yuno has more than one offensive spell. Spirit Storm, Tornado Fang, Crescent Kamichachi, and Wind Blade Shower, all of which can come from any direction. Yuno takes this one with moderately high difficulty. From Aizen Solo's Fiction, Yuno has a massive attack potency and speed advantage. Noelle's best feat is beating that chick from the Golden Dawn. If we highball her, she's likely low captain level, whereas Yuno is comparable to Elf Raya and Elf Patri. At the very least, they're likely mid to high captain level. Now, I completely disagree that Kavane, the Elven Compass Mage, is only low captain level when she pretty much no diffed Noelle while suppressed. So, I think just as an elf, compass magic is very broken. Now, the regular human version of Kavane, she's probably strong, but not that strong, but it's the fact that her elven mana makes her magic type so strong. Alright, from my boy Jovan Fisher. Yuno, because he has better mana control and other mastery of abilities. He has also more physical strength and intelligence. Even though Noelle is faster, Yuno can react with Mana Zone, Spirit Hush Dance, and can create openings to attack Noelle with intelligence, and Mana Zone to catch Noelle off guard. Plus, the longer the battle, the more of an advantage for Yuno, because of his 4-leaf Clover Grimoire luck. From King Flames White, Yuno, to be honest, he's just way faster than Noelle. Yes, Noelle is fast. We have not seen her do anything close to what Yuno has done in speed. Yuno was able to rack the 2 light magic users. On top of that, Yuno was more versatile in his spells, and he scales to Asta in the start of the Elf War. Sylph states Yuno was straight up stronger than Black Asta, and Yuno got both stronger at the end of the war. Alright guys, that's it for the comments. I'm going to kind of go over my own analysis now and scale these characters. So, I'm going to go over some scaling for Yuno. And I do want to say that just because he lost his elf form, that does not mean he's only the same power that he was when he fought Captain Rill in the tournament. Yuno, as stated by Raya, had not only improved his elven power, but also his own human power over the course of the war with the elves. So I'm going to create a scale here. We have Spirit Dive Yuno from the tournament. Elf Spirit Dive Yuno, the one who fought alongside Asta against Licht. Elf Spirit Dive Yuno 2, who would be decently stronger than the first Elf Spirit Dive Yuno. This one would be the one who, with Mana Zone, casually dodged light spells from Elf Patri and Elf Raya at the same time. Then there's what I call Amped Elf Spirit Dive Yuno. This is when he, alongside Asta, get a power-up against the devil. And then there is the strongest version of Yuno, and that is when he's getting an amp from the first Wizard King's light magic, which is amping him and giving him power. Of course, this wouldn't be fair to include in a versus battle, since he was getting outside help, and it's not the current versions of characters. People do seem to forget that Yuno was not only getting amped by Lumiere, but his spell, the Sword of Zephyr, was basically borrowing magic from Lumiere and Licht to be able to damage the devil, since the devil can only be damaged by magic from his own dimension. So saying Yuno could damage a devil with a sword isn't really going to apply here. When it comes to speed, Amped Elf Spirit Dive Yuno was able to somewhat be relative to Dark Elf Pottery, but was still slower. When he fought the devil, at first the devil was using more power with his Grimoire. He was never really fast enough to fight him on his own. Asta and Yuno needed to team up and do their sort of quasi-combo spell to attack the devil. Then afterwards, he would get the Amp of Light Mana from Lumiere, which paired with Zephyr made him able to fight the devil and be fast enough to do so. But again, that is Yuno at his max power, not the one we're using in this video. Now, like I said, Yuno would lose his Elven Mana, but since he had increased his human power by likely increasing his natural mana, amount, and mana control, we have to scale him to, say, well above the Spirit Dive Yuno when he fought real, but is largely unquantifiable of how strong he was, since he has had no feats since losing his Elven Mana. But I think it would be at least fair to put him as an equal to what I called Elven Spirit Dive Yuno 2, since Amped Spirit Dive Yuno was seemingly a result of the elf inside of him waking up, not from his gained human power. So I'm going to disclude that form and scale Yuno to that, which is still pretty strong. So the Yuno we'll be using for this video is going to be the one who was able to take on 2 apostles with light magic at once in battle. He'd have pretty high attack potency and durability. He can use Mana Zone for speed and attacks, and he has access to his many spells, like creating a bow and arrow out of wind, his Spirit Storm, which is like a Kamehameha made of wind. He can create tornadoes. Of course, his Spirit's Hush Dance, paired with Mana Zone, makes him very, very fast and causes him to casually dodge 2 light mages. And with his advanced skill with Mana Zone, Yuno can create attacks from within other people's spells. And also, of course, with wind magic, Yuno can fly. So again, Yuno is very, very powerful. Dodging 2 light mages who are at apostle level is impressive, and while he did use Mana Zone to do it, he did not struggle while he was using Mana Zone. Now, Noelle is one of the most downplayed characters in Black Clover. I did a video on Manga last week, but Noelle was also severely downplayed. Now, I remember when she kind of first was getting her bearings right with her Valkyrie dress, and I would say, you know, for now she's at least low captain level. People like, no, she's definitely not low captain level. She's vice captain level at best, probably more like senior level Magic Knight. And so that's just the kind of downplay that happens with Noelle. I'll pretty much prove in this video that she's well stronger than even low captain level. So, she is the water mage with one of the largest amounts of mana in the series. As stated by Tabata, it seems she has more mana than both Julius and her mother, Asir. And when you look at the chart that Mimosa made, Noelle had just as much, if not more mana, than Elven Fauna. That is impressive that in terms of mana, she had surpassed Elven Apostles. Now, mana amount is only one part of the equation to who wins a battle in Black Clover. If you look at the stats, Yuno is well physically stronger than her, as he has a 3 out of 5, she has a 2 out of 5. He can control his mana better, he has a 4 out of 5, she only has a 3 out of 5. And I'd argue that Yuno is on the upper end of 4 out of 5, and Noelle is probably on the lower end of 3 out of 5. So it's a pretty big gap. And if you don't know, these numbers are tiers. They're not like linear numbers. Like a difference between a 4 and a 5 can be big, but the difference between a 3 and a 5 would be massive. Like Yami is probably on the lower end of a 5 out of 5, and Magna is a 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 compared to a 5 out of 5, that's a massive gap. So basically, if you also look at mana sensing, Yuno has a huge advantage. So he has an advantage in mana control, mana sensing, and physical strength, and also how smart he is as well. He's a really good battle tactician. Yuno also has Mana Zone, Noelle doesn't, so that's an extended advantage of what he has. He also has an additional mana boost in that of Belle, whom can add to her mana to his attacks, or just do a Spirit Dive fusion. But what really sets Noelle apart in her base form is her attack power and her defense. Sea Dragon's Roar is one of the most powerful spells in this series. It was able to nearly kill Veto in the Seabed Temple. She was able to go against the amped Fire Spirit in the Witch's Forest arc with Sea Dragon's Roar and take down her brother Solid, which, Solid, not really impressive, but just going to include that in there. We also see her use Sea Dragon's Roar against Fauna, which completely ripped her top half off. Now when it comes to Fauna, she is someone who I see downplayed all the time in this series. People try and say that she is weaker than herself from the Witch's Forest arc, which it's not the case. I've done a scale sort of the elf form. You have Fauna in her third eye state, which she was strong back then. Then you have the self-destruction spell, which is vastly superior to a regular third eye state. Then you have the elven form on top of that, which is well above that. So yeah, Fauna lost to Salamander, but gained to the elf form. It's an absolutely insane increase in overall power, and she seems to have more of her mind in the elven form, so she is also probably better at fighting and better at controlling her magic as well. We know Fauna is fast too, as she's able to dodge Jack's severing magic, and Noelle was well faster than Fauna. But again, let's start with Noelle. Her base form, it's impressive as she was able to take out, Eye of the Midnight Sun members during the anime portion of the attack on the Grafito Stone region. But the Eye of the Midnight Sun members are basically nameless characters, so we can't really quantify it. Just at least she can take out, mages easily on her own. And it really just shows that in her base form, without Sea Dragon's Roar, she is still useful. She still has Dragon's Cradle and Sea Dragon's Nest, and they're both very powerful defensive spells. As it was even hard for the Amped Fire Spirit, Salamander, to break through those defensive spells. Now yes, she did have the elemental advantage, but the fact it was hard for the Spirit to break through shows that the spell is still very strong no matter the elemental advantage. And now, let's talk about Noelle versus Kaveen, the Golden Dawn Elven Compass Mate. People love to downplay Noelle's feat against her, stating that she only won because of an advantage, and this should not be counted as a really great feat for her. And they'll just say, oh, Noelle defeated a random elf. Well, this random elf defeated Noelle while holding back. Which I think what people really need to look at that. When Kaveen activates her first Atlas spell, she causes the room to be extremely hard to control her mana, or control other people's mana. And this gives her the ability to also revert to attacks. People love to downplay Kaveen, but even before she even activated her best spell, she was able to counter the Sea Dragon's Roar, which puts her above base Veto from the Seabed Temple, who was ripped in half by it. But when she activated the spell again, she said, more immense, more powerful. Which would mean that this room that they were in would be even harder to go against than the last one. Meaning Noelle didn't even go against a full power Kaveen and still got destroyed. Noelle is extremely fast, but even more so quick and mobile in her new spell, the Valkyrie Dress. As stated by Kaveen, Noelle isn't only dodging the attacks, but actually eluding the mana that disrupts other people's mana in this space. And after completely dodging all of these attacks and the mana, Noelle blitzes toward Kaveen and plunges her lance into the compass that Kaveen uses. This lance overpowers the compass and destroys Kaveen's Atlas room while giving Noelle the win in the fight. Now people seem to assume that Noelle's only powerful attack is Sea Dragon's Roar, but this feat completely disproves that notion. Remember, Noelle used Sea Dragon's Roar on a weaker version of Kaveen, just chapters prior, and Kaveen was able to counter that attack. But while in Valkyrie Dress, Noelle could overpower the compass. This means that Noelle's lance, while in Valkyrie Dress, is stronger than base Noelle's version of the Sea Dragon's Roar. This is not an inconsistency either, as even the lance was able to casually impale Fauna later on, showing that the attack power of the lance is incredibly powerful. Directly after the fight with Kaveen, Noelle would be surrounded by 6 senior level Golden Dawn elves, and Noelle admitted that she was running low on mana, so this would be hard for her to fight. Zora would help out, and he would take down 2 of them via track magic, but then Noelle would blitz 4 of these senior Golden Dawn elves. Remember, these are Golden Dawn elves. Noelle is running low on mana, and she still blitzes all of them. Each of these elves would scale way above Owen and Mark's, and there was 4 of them, so just think of that for context. Now, people will say that Noelle was not great in this fight because she missed her Sea Dragon's Roar on one of the elves, but you have to also remember that she was running low on mana. She also already has low mana control, so this was not a good situation for her. But she also knew where Zora's traps were. She aimed for Zora's trap, not for the elf, so they could increase the power and then take out this elven Golden Dawn member. So this was a coordinated attack, but she still was able to blitz 4 elves while low on mana. Next time we see Noelle at her max is when she faces off against Elf Fauna, which I already pretty much defended Elf Fauna prior. People love to say that she's weak because she lost her spirit, but it's pretty much clear that she is way stronger than Witch's Forest Fauna, since the Elven form is such a massive amp, making non-combat mages like Owen and Marks strong enough that Yami had to take them seriously. Fauna also dodged an attack from Jack. Jack, whose speed scales to Yami, who Yami was able to parry Storm of Swords from the Devil. So Fauna isn't slow at all, and Fauna dodged an attack from Jack, so there you go. Now, all of this confirms that Valkyrie Dress Noelle is at the very, very, very least low tier captain level. But in my eyes, would that be more so mid-captain level, since Noelle was fodderized by a suppressed give-in. Now, a statement and a feat confirming the said statement vastly increases the scaling of Noelle, and so let's get into that. In chapter 203, Noelle thinks to himself, "The mobility we need to bring home those who have been turned into elves." He says that as he thinks of Noelle. This is basically admitting that he needs Noelle's mobility, or quickness and speed, to do this. This statement can be taken to say that Noelle thinks that Valkyrie Dress Noelle is quicker and faster than him. Now this is also backed up in chapter 212, when Noelle, and Fauna are all heading to the exit of the Shadow Palace. Noelle is flying and keeping up with Noelle's Mercury. This at least implies that Noelle's speed is equal to Noelle's. Although you could argue that Noelle is slowing down to keep Noelle in the protection spell. If that was the case, then she could just sit on Noelle's Mercury with everyone else, and it is also just as possible that Noelle is holding herself back to stay in the light spell. The speed here isn't contradicted since Fauna is moving faster, but she is getting amped by the light spell, which shows why she's moving faster than people who probably should be faster than her. So this means that Noelle scales to the speed of Noelle. Noelle moved just as fast, if not faster, than Dark Elf Pottery's Ray of Divine Punishment, his fastest spell, and remember, this was an even faster and stronger version of Dark Elf Pottery than what Yuno and Asta had to fight, since it was stated that after the first Ray of Divine Punishment, he increased his mana even more. So Noelle scales to a faster Dark Elf Pottery, the one that a stronger version of Yuno was slower than. So this shows that there is a pretty clear speed gap here. I'll put a scale on the screen that we're using this version of Yuno. A version of Yuno who is faster than that was slower than a Dark Elf Pottery, that Pottery was slower than the one that Noelle scales to. So this shows that Noelle, via these statements and the feat backing it up, is actually well above Yuno in speed. So Noelle in this battle has a clear speed advantage, and her lance alone would likely be strong enough to heavily damage or kill Yuno. Her Sea Dragon's Roar also would likely be enough to get the job done. Now Yuno is smarter. He would probably have a bit more overall stamina too, since he is using a Spirit Dive, has more physical strength, and has more mana control. And he's better at using Spirit Dive than Noelle is with Valkyrie Dress. He has more spells, more versatile spells, and would likely have higher reactions with Mana Zone. You can also say that Noelle's defense spells might not even work against Yuno, since he might be able to use his attacks from inside her defense spells via Mana Zone. If you look at the scale here, Noelle is going to be well faster than Yuno. Even if he uses Spirit Storm from multiple directions, Noelle would likely dodge it, or could counter it with Sea Dragon's Roar, or even potentially her Lance. If a battle between these two ensued, Noelle and Yuno would both transform to the Valkyrie Dress and the Spirit Dive forms, but because of the severe speed advantage as well as the attack potency advantage from two different attacks, I think Noelle is going to take this battle. Maybe Yuno, with his experience, could draw it out a little bit with his versatility, but even his Zephyr Sword isn't going to be enough to change the battle. Noelle would still be too quick for Yuno to likely even land a hit with that sword. We also have to remember he would only be borrowing mana from Noelle with the sword, whereas in the manga, the sword was very strong because he absorbed the mana of Licht, Lumiere, partial Dark Elf Pottery, and likely Secre. Now, if you want to talk about max power Yuno, the one with Zephyr, and being amped by light magic with Elven mana, that would be an extremely close battle between Valkyrie Dress, Noelle, and Yuno. But with all these amps, Yuno would probably actually still come on top if you use the strongest version of Yuno, but that's not the Yuno we're using. We're using the current version of Yuno, who doesn't have the Elven mana, who I scaled him to be basically equal to the one who dodged Pottery and Raya's Light Magic, and he's just not enough. Like, the speed gap is pretty big. The attack potency gap, I would probably give it to Noelle, just because she has more feats of attack potency. And yes, Yuno has advantages, but I do not think it's enough for him to overcome this battle. So this video is kind of a versus battle, but also a respect Noelle video, because she is way stronger than I've seen, you know, people say. The people trying to say she's vice captain level when she's obviously not. People will constantly try and downplay her feats. They'll say, oh, she just dodged 4 random elves. Well, no, she dodged 4 Golden Dawn elves and blitzed them while low on mana. And no, Kaveen is not a random mage. She defeated Noelle. And also, Fauna should not be downplayed. And then you add the statement that's backed up by a feat, and then you have her being one of the fastest characters in the series while using Valkyrie Dress. So that is Noelle. I believe that she beats current Yuno, and I don't think it's that inconsistent. Asta and Yuno have been portrayed to be equals. I think Noelle has been working her way up to rivaling it. They now, you know, all have their transformations now. All of them have wings, so it's going to be pretty sick. Hopefully one day we'll get to see Spear Dive Yuno, Black Asta, and Valkyrie Dress Noelle, the 3 of them, fight together on the battlefield. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Plus...